about the soul, how to practically see the soul, right? How so one of the things which came from the compassion angle, that Nishant Prabhu, who is here, he is talking that lately he has been experiencing that he is becoming more hard-hearted, cold-hearted. He used the word cold-hearted, and he's asking, is that the sign of spiritual progress? The sign of the something else? That's the question he was asking.
Becoming cold-hearted. So the question is that Nishant Prabhu is feeling that he's becoming cold-hearted, and so is
Yes.
that the sign of spiritual progress, or what is the,
Otherwise,
or otherwise? Um, I think uh, there is. I'm not really sure if any organism can be cold-hearted. They can be cold-blooded, I guess. Snakes are cold-blooded, but
To be clear, I think that is not the right choice of words. I would say more like insensitive, which I think Swati and Mataji corrected that. So yeah,
yes,
what
okay.
if I'm beginning to get more insensitive? Like you know, they don't affect me as much as they used to earlier. Let's say.
Are
This
we
is
suggesting here that just trying to rephrase your what you said is someone is becoming insensitive, and you're saying that you're just putting yourself in that context that you are becoming a little insensitive. Is that a sign of spiritual progress or not? So,
correct.
are we suggesting that we are becoming insensitive towards others, or insensitive about one's own needs too?
No, just insensitive about in the context of the soul. Just being insensitive about a death, for example, uh, of somebody who is near and dear to you. And if
Okay,
you do not show the same sort of compassion and emotions that you used to, let's say earlier, before we got enlightened by this uh, great book, Bhagavad Gita,
right.
what does that tell us about myself?
Uh, this is such a broad question, um, in the sense that when I say that somebody is becoming cold-hearted about, or insensitive, forget, I'm so sorry again, insensitive about someone's death, or someone's passing away. Um, so, is that a sign of spiritual progress? Um, I would rather want to understand if one can actually be insensitive about someone's passing away. I'm just trying to open up the discussion.
okay.
That's
So
right, because that is just a hypothetical question, because it hasn't really happened. So
Exactly.
I think you have a great question back to me.
Yeah.
Is to do more introspection.
I would, yeah, I would definitely want to suggest that. Sometimes hypothetical questions just bring us to a realm where there are no answers, or whichever answer can actually instigate us into more curiosity and doubts.
Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
but I would like to again piggyback on the same question because
so Prabhu, I think let's give the chance to the folks who have already asked the question. Okay, and then let's come back to this question a little later. Okay, so that will be proper.
Well, you
Please,
started it off,
please.
Prabhu. I said you should have answered the question. Damodar Hariji.
yeah, my question was just related to this. But anyway,
No, no,
then
Nishant.
we can.
I'm saying about Damodar Hari Prabhu. He should have answered the question.
Yes, Prabhu. So when you came, I had started the story, but when you were there, I thought that you were devotees like your answers. So I thought that I will give them a better chance. So that's the reason.
Okay.
So sorry, yeah, like suddenly bring you with the half-baked question.
It's perfectly all right. I'm just trying to be a little over smart here and pull someone's leg.
No, no, Prabhu, no, no, that's true. So Prabhu, so here I'm sharing the screen, and then
You're sharing the
Madhu can,
screen, and
yeah,
I may have to
can see my
expand it.
questions.
I can see your screen, yes.
Yeah, so there are questions. So Madhu Kiran, Mataji, you can go and ask. Like you can, I have your question, but you can ask in your own words.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Uh, so these are some questions. I just try to phrase them, but maybe they need some rephrasing as well. But I just have this first question to be with this verse, Prabhu. Actually, it starts with the first verse. Yeah.
Later.
So applying this principles to our materialistic lives every day. So this verse is like I found it like the answer it was given by Lord to almost like the mankind. So just to be still and accept whatever comes in your way. So that is how I understood it. So, but how far it is like practically applicable? It was like more or less similar to the question just that was happening before. So, how can we really be practical? Like that would not affect us. So, how do we know that is it a progress spiritually or the otherwise? So, the similar kind of yeah.
Okay. Um, I've lost the screen, Prabhu. Did you share the screen?
Yeah, Prabhu.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I got it. I got
You
it
can
again.
see
I
my
got it
screen.
again. Yeah, I got the screen back. Applying the Bhagavad Gita principles to our materialistic chaos every day. This verse hit me like one answer for many problems. Klaibyam Masmadama Partha. Okay, I understood this verse. It's not just for Arjuna, but for the mankind, not to lament over the things beyond our control and accept as it is. Reading is quite easy, and most chapters can be read in 10 to 20 minutes, but understanding the message is different challenge, and there is a further challenge in applying it. What are the best practices for advance and this practical application of the Gita principles to our lives? Oh, okay. So I'll stick to what is being asked here. Is that all right? What I see on my screen, I'll try to answer that.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
I'll just ask a few questions, and anyone can answer. Most of us, we know what is 2 plus 2, right?
Yes.
3 plus 3. I mean, you could give answers.
Oh yeah. 6,
Okay, 4 plus 4.
8,
5 plus 5.
10.
Okay, now you go to Costco's and you have to do a few transactions there, correct? All of this is there, it is there on the screen of your mind, but you're only going to pick that which you're going to apply at that moment, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So similarly, when we read the Bhagavad Gita, one chapter in 10 or 20 minutes every day, whatever is our challenge for that day, hopefully we'll find the answer to that challenge in the chapter that we are reading, in one of those verses. It's not necessary that we kind of use all the information that we have when we go to Costco's. We could use any permutation or combination, but it is not necessary that we have to use all the mathematical applications that we know when we go to Costco's. We only need to use that which is necessary for that particular interaction. I need to buy 2 cartons of this and 4 cartons of that, so a total of 6 cartons. So that makes 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. I need just that part of that, only that mathematical application amongst the rest that I um, have available to me. It's in my mind. Similarly, the book that we read is in one sense, when we read the book, it is simply an external form of that which we want to imprint on our mind. So the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to help us uh, navigate every single action that we perform in this life. And for that navigation, we may need chapter 1, verse 4 today, we may need chapter 2, verse 8 tomorrow. I'm just kind of just giving examples like that. All right? So it's
Yes.
perfectly all right to read the chapters in 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And don't worry about understanding it 40 years from now. Don't worry about that. The Gita is not about understanding things in complete sense. Reading of the Bhagavad Gita is not meant for that. Reading of the Bhagavad Gita is to help us navigate our day-to-day, our actions in day-to-day life. So some of us may be still in elementary school, some of us may be in high school, some of us may be in college, some of us must be at work. And like our high school kid, or let's just say our elementary school child at Costco's, they may have difficulty uh, with a few transactions, adding up a few numbers. They may have some difficulty doing that. We may not have that difficulty because uh, we have been through elementary and high school. So similarly, when we go through a certain period of reading the verses of the Bhagavad Gita and spending time understanding it through discussions, through introspection, through analysis, through attending classes and hearing others share their experiences, through a combination of all of this, over a period of time, we will gradually make progress from elementary to middle to high to college to workplaces. That kind of transition will happen with our understanding of the Bhagavad Gita too. And at every level, whatever understanding we have will surely help us navigate certain actions of our life on a daily basis. Is that answer?
Yes,
Does it?
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. That helps. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Prabhuji. There is another question. So we have these terms. So usually, most commonly used terms. So I know we have been discussing these, and there is a lot more journey. So we have just started. We are just in the beginning of the journey. But I just wanted to hear these from you, so to get a better understanding of these terms, so or the comparison of these two things while doing, like the consciousness and soul are they both same, and they use in some cases they use it to be spirit, and some cases they use it to be subtle body, and the mind and awareness. So how the terms are related, or are they different or same? So I just wanted to hear a few things from you about this. So I again understand that, so we just started it. So I think we just started the ABCs just now. So there is a lot more to go, but I just wanted to maybe in our layman language. So I just wanted to hear it from you for us for beginners like us. Yeah.
Okay, a few of the terms that you have used here. Consciousness is actually Chetana, and if needed, I'll try and describe some of those too. Consciousness is Chetana, soul is Atma. So we could be addressing two different things. Spirit is typically it could be referred to as Devi rather than Bhautik. I wouldn't say Adhyatmic here because that would not be the proper word choice for it. It would be Devi. Whereas subtle body is Sukshma Sharir. Mind is Man, which is one of the aspects of the Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. And awareness is, how do I say awareness? It is again related to, it is an expression of the Chetna. So it could be Sachet. Okay. So when we try to explain a concept that uses a different language and we translate it into a completely different language, sometimes there may be some difficulty because of shortage of words. That is possible. Sometimes there may be some difficulty just because the same word could be used in different contexts. For example, if I tell someone, bring me some water, typically uh, in India they say pani lao. So pani lao, it could be to put out fire, it could be for me to drink, it could be for me to make kada, it could be for me to water the plants, it could be for me to wash my legs. So just the phrase pani lao could actually have different contextual applications. So similarly, when certain phrases or words are used, there could be different contextual applications of it, or context, and for what purpose, with what intent those words are being used. Um, just to give a very humorous example, um, someone could say that, uh, uh, let's say, a murderer in court says that the body is dead, the Atma never dies, so actually I did not commit any murder. That wouldn't work, right? That is not the right interpretation. That is not the correct understanding in context. So, the proper understanding in context for the same phrases or for the same words uh, could be totally different from each other. In different contexts, it could be different from each other. The example I gave about bring some water, we just tell somebody to bring a glass of water, it could still mean so on and so forth. So when you speak of Chetana, consciousness, in what context are you wanting to understand it? Where do we want to, in what context are we reading it? That is very important. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Let me give you another example. Consciousness. Oh, when I went to my sister's house, my mind was disturbed. Some people may say my consciousness was disturbed. So, is it related to a spiritual experience? Doesn't seem like that. It is related to somebody being frustrated or somebody being emotionally agitated. And someone else says that I was chanting and my consciousness was disturbed. So the contexts are completely different, the situation.
So Prabhuji, as you said, so just about this one will go to Daivik. So the consciousness need not be
Spirit.
always
I said spirit.
adhyatmic. So that is what
Spirit. The spirit. The Sanskrit word for it would be Devi.
Yeah, that is no about the consciousness. So that is what
Chetana.
What I am
Consciousness is Chetana.
Yeah, it's not always adhyatmic, so it can be depends on context. So that is what
The way people use that word, that is what I'm saying. The use of it.
Yes, Prabhuji. I understand. I get it now. I get it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madhumadaji, I would just give Swati a chance to ask her question, and then we'll come back to you. Is that okay? So that will give everybody some chance. So Swati, Swati, you can ask. So Prabhu, this is the question which Swati asked. How to choose a path when faced with duality of life, when two paths seems to have equal pros and cons? How to try and understand which way to go?
This is question number. Okay, there I see Swati.
Yeah, I've highlighted it.
How to choose a question. How to choose a path when faced with the duality of life, when two paths seem to have equal pros and cons. How to try and understand which way to go. I guess the easiest way would be to toss a coin if you have no idea. But the best way forward is to analyze and make a choice. It's your choice. If you feel that the pros and cons are similar in both instances, then it doesn't really matter which way you go, because uh, both paths lead you to something that you want, and you can only have one choice. Like yesterday, there was some discussion happening, and it was two different food preparations that they like equally. So which would you eat first? So it has to do with what would be the lingering taste in your tongue, and which would you want to be more favorable towards. So this confusion, this dichotomy, but then you have to eat only one at a time. So you just make a choice. You just choose that this one goes first and this one goes after that. So either you do that choice consciously, or if you want to uh, let chance do it for you, flip a coin. I'm just trying to be very simple in my answer here. If there's some more specifics that Swati would like to mention, then I could elaborate on it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. This is like the question keeps turning into my head for everything now since I've learned about duality. So obviously for like more tougher situations in life, so most of the times like in the serious situations, or most of the time the path seems clearer. But when there is a subtle situation in life, like one of the silly situations that I came across, that's not really, but like the concept of karma now in my head all the time, I always feel like everything is going to accrue me some karma, good or bad. Um, so for something like something silly happened, like I had a bad experience with somebody, with something, and I had the chance to submit a review, and I was in always two minds, because I knew if I submitted the review, the person may lose the job. So I was very reluctant to do that. But at the same time, a lot of like I started discussing it and started questioning it in my head, discussed with the people whose opinions I value, whom I see look up, and a lot of people, I got again mixed opinions, and somebody said, it's okay if you have to, and it all ultimately boiled down to saying it's your judgment call, because one thought process was, if you do it, the person is going to lose his job. If you don't do it, then the person may end up doing the same thing to someone else. So now it all boiled down to me realizing, or being very clear about knowing whether the act of whatever the thing that didn't go well, for which I was confused whether to submit the review or not, was it an act of like like a subconscious act, or like, because there's no way to know if somebody said something just out of some subtle thing in their head that that they didn't realize. Like, it was not such a clear experience for me to know that yes, this was a bad experience and this person really didn't do the right thing. It could have been either way, and so that's when I was like really seeing that there are times in life when we really can see things going. We just don't know what to do, and serious situations, yes, we can make like a judgment call. Okay, how about 1 year from now? How about 5 years from now? How do I see this manifesting eventually in the long term? And there or not, whether it will matter for us. But sometimes it's very difficult to decide. So I was wondering if there are any like certain guidelines you can share, or anything, points to consider, like, okay, look at this, and is it aligned with this thought process, and any inputs. Otherwise, I think it was just a flip a coin.
Okay.
What would be the
Well, before I say something that appears to be very harsh, let me say things that are more palatable. Uh, Being considerate, trying to be helpful, well, all those qualities are needed. If and you must you and any other person must be having that if you are in a position where you have that kind of authority, that kind of clout, let us say. And obviously, you will be using all of those tools to try and make a good decision. Now, coming to the harsh part, one has to decide who owns the problem here. Now, let us say if the person that you're reviewing had been mm, had acted or behaved in such a way or had performed in such a way that uh, th- that somebody who's assessing them has immediate clarity. So hasn't that person made it easier hasn't that person made the assessment easier? The person who's performing, who's being assessed, hasn't that person made the process of assessment easier um, by getting the performance to a level where, or having the performance have such clarity that decision can be taken? So typically, if we are if we are careful, or let no, the word typical is not correct. Unless and until we are careful, that we try and prevent ourselves from owning other people's problems. Uh, then clarity could be lost.
So, Prabhu, are you saying that we should try and avoid owning other people's problems, or we should not?
Only in very exceptional cases, only when there's a pandemic, one should try and when I say pandemic, I mean very, very exceptional cases, which is called as apatkalin sthiti, emergencies. One must try and perform one's responsibilities and be careful uh, to avoid owning others' problems unnecessarily. If we own others' problems, then we are actually, in some ways, we may be inhibiting their growth if they are not able to own their own problems.
Thank you, Prabhu. That somewhat clears it out. But it's always
It's tough.
always
I agree, it's tough. Definitely, it's tough. So, who made it tough? You did not make it tough for yourselves. You're just trying to assess, isn't it? So, typically, an assessment should be, I think, very objective. An assessment should be very objective. That is what assessments are about. It is supposed to be objective. So anything that helps you to be more objective makes the assessment easier.
I'm sorry, Prabhu, to disagree, but my experiences are saying that the more I disconnect myself from the situation, I mean, keeping it objective and not really keeping my what's in it for me type of thought, it becomes harder, because then I feel like then every path seems similar, and I feel like, okay, I'm just being neutral here, so I'm just following what's provided, and I'll just pick one path. And like in simpler situations like this, I feel in a very extreme situation, it's obviously a lot of times much clearer, but in simpler situations it becomes hard. Like if we really want to practice making the right decisions in everything that we do on a day-to-day lives,
Okay.
I feel if objective, I feel the challenge
I was trying to suggest that assessments have to be objective. Assessments, when they become subjective, then clarity is lost.
So, like in this situation, like, so what would be the right way to assess? Like if I
In the situation where you're saying that somebody is being assessed, you're assessing somebody's performance and it could cost them their job. Is that what you're saying?
No, nothing like that. So it was just it's just an experience, somebody talking and then saying some things, and then it was like, not like how it's a code of conduct. You cannot be saying certain things because it goes against the code of conduct for that company, and still something happened in that conversation. I think that you should share it because that's that will bring the clarity, or maybe that person needs more education because he's clearly very confused about what he must say and what he must not say.
So whose problem is it? Is the problem is somebody else? When we have situations like that, various people have various agendas. So who owns the problem? If we can narrow it down to that, it becomes easier. And once who owns the problem is decided, then assessments can be a little more objective. Let us try and analyze this. Assessments, subjective assessments versus objective assessments. What are the pros and cons?
Yes, can you please give me some clarity on that?
Subjective assessment, right? Two children. Let us say we have more than one child. We assess them subjectively, we assess them objectively. What could be the positives and what could be the negative?
Positive of objective assessment is definitely that each child goes to, it's like helping each child reach their own potential rather than just limiting them to or stretching them to the potential of the other. In many ways, I'm not just talking about academics or anything like that, just
yes,
their personal,
correct,
everything.
Yes,
because we have different needs in the areas we want to grow.
Correct. And objective? I'm sorry, subjective? We did objective assessment for children. So subjective, what are the
pros and cons? If I say mostly, I feel subjective assessment have cons but then the only pro, if I have to really think about a pro, then I would say maybe we can, if we can converse in a compassionate way, maybe there is a way to encourage, inspire.
So are you suggesting that objective is sans compassion?
No, I feel objective is more compassionate. I think what I personally say that objective assessment is the right way in situations. But if I really have to think, okay, why would somebody choose subjective? And maybe there was a need there, and there could be a particular situation that may call for it. But generally speaking, I would say objective assessment has the pros in my limited experience of life.
So, you could try to be objective at various levels for the same situation. You could be objective minutely, or you could be objective in a broader sense. That's up to you. That's up to the person who's assessing it. However, being subjective has more chances of clouding your understanding and kind of making you unclear of what the situation actually is, because being subjective means certain biases are going to affect you.
Yes.
But objective, you can try and be objective, very minutely, or you can be objective on a broader level. If you want to, let us say, you can apply compassion and try to be objective in a broader sense. It will help you. I think what objective does is helps you have clarity more than subjective. When we speak of assessment, when you speak of relationship, it's different. If you're trying to assess a relationship, when you're trying to analyze a relationship, objective is good. When you're trying to establish and maintain a relationship, subjective also has to play a part, because biases help. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So when we speak of assessment, that is why I said for assessment, it seems that objective helps us have more clarity. So if we are objective, then it also helps us understand who owns the problem. Let's say someone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We understand that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and a third person tells us that you should go and let their superiors know. However, if you are that is not um, directly your field of activity, you may have a choice there whether you want to go and do that or not do that, because the authority may come back to you and say that you go and do your own, mind your own business, right? Because that's
Yeah.
not your, it's not your zone, it's not where you're supposed to
Yeah.
be assessing things. So at this work scenario, somebody else may have some agenda, so you have to try and see who owns the problem. Do you own the problem? Does the person who's supposed to perform own the problem? All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
So, Nishant Prabhu or Ashutosh Prabhu, can you ask a related question? You were talking that point. Sorry that I have to cut you off.
Yeah, so the question which I had, Prabhuji, is the same question what Nishant had, and my thought process is, or what I feel, I would like to move in the path in which I'm nowhere closer, is to attain a state of mind where outside event doesn't really impact me internally. But having said that, it doesn't mean that I don't want to show that emotions. But really, it is not impacting me. I'm just being very balanced.
Okay. Okay. So
Is that
that is your need, or maybe it's your concern, correct?
that is what I feel I would like to, achieve, but I know that I'm nowhere near to that.
Okay. So let's suppose there is a bridge. I'm trying to use give an analogy here. There's a bridge. Um, it's that span bridges. Span bridges across
Span,
span, SPAN, and as in Nigeria. Span bridges. Those bridges that kind of only have pillars on either ends, and they are hanging in the middle.
mm-hmm.
So those span bridges, when you uh, take your vehicle across it, there is some vibrations in it, because there's some weight, so it's going to go up and down. As you go ahead, the previous what you have left behind, that part of the bridge is going to be relieved of the weight, and therefore it's going to spring back to where it was. That's what span bridges, that is how they respond typically, provided the vehicle is heavy enough, right? So let's say a span bridge wobbles when you take a weight of 100 tons across, it wobbles. And you can feel it wobbling. What would happen if you are carrying a weight of 80 tons across? Do you think you can feel the wobble?
Yeah.
Let me again explain this. A span bridge wobbles, and you can feel it wobble as you're driving across when you're taking a weight of 100 tons across, which basically means 100 and 100 plus. You'd feel the wobble. If you're taking a weight of 80 tons across in a vehicle, would you feel the wobble?
Yes.
How would you feel the wobble? Would you feel the bridge shaking? Let's say the bridge shakes when you take a weight of 100 tons across and 100 plus. What I'm trying to say is that when you take weights of less than 100 tons across, the weight of the bridge itself keeps it stable. The bridge itself has weight, right? The metal has weight. So because of the pull of gravity and the you know the extension that is felt, it's been pulled by the pillars and it's been pulled down by gravity, that keeps it stable. Otherwise, the bridge would wobble at every blow of the wind. So the weight of the metal itself and the pillars on either sides keeps it stable. Now, when I take a vehicle that is so heavy that when it goes onto the bridge, it puts an additional pressure on the bridge. So the bridge now goes down because metal has some flexibility, it is malleable. So that part of the bridge goes down. The rest of the bridge, you just feel the strain. When I go 10 meters ahead, the part that had gone down, that had kind of been pressed, that is what makes the bridge wobble. It makes it shake. Okay, let me give you another example. A sofa, a couch. The sing-in couches. Now, if you come to Damodar Hari Prabhu's house, then they have that. I forget what it is called. That a little tougher couch. Sectionals. Yeah, that is the word it is used. Have you come to Damodar Hari Prabhu's house and been to this room where it is?
No.
Okay. Indian sofas. You've seen sofas in India, like 20 years ago. Those sofas were really tough. When you sat on it, you couldn't really bounce off it. You wouldn't sink in. Remember those sofas?
Yeah.
Now, a typical person of 40 kilos wouldn't sink in, but let's say somebody is really very heavyweight. Let's say 80 kilos. Then we create a permanent depression in the sofa. Remember those days? Nishant Prabhu, do you remember?
I was never 80 kg.
Have you ever?
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What other example could I give you?
No, that example is fine.
Okay, this example. All right. So if a person of 30, whose weight is 30 kilos, when that person comes onto the sofa, do you think the sofa is going to react? Or is the sofa going to be stable? At 40 kilos, there is no reaction. The sofa does not have a dent in it. It does not get compressed. At 80 kilos, there is a depression. So somewhere between 40 to 80, the sofa kind of seems affected by the weight that is put on it. At 40 kilos, there is no visible effect of the weight that is put on the sofa. At 30 kilos, the sofa is going to, what would be the effect on the sofa?
No effect.
Correct, no effect. There is a weight, but there is no effect. Consider your mind to be like a sofa. If you have trained your mind to kind of bear weight of 40 kilos, so any weight under that is not going to really wobble your mind, because the mind has the capacity to bear that weight. Now, if weights over 40 are going to disturb, agitate you, now you have to train your mind so that you can start bearing more weights. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? So if your mind has been trained to bear challenges that are 40 kilos in weight, so any challenge that is below 40, sometimes life will throw challenges at 30 kilos of weight. Sometimes it will throw challenges of 25 kilos of weight. None of that is going to dent your mind. So trying to make the mind stable does not mean necessarily that the mind has to be empty. mind can have issues that are of 40 and less weight and still will not be agitated by it, will be able to work with it, will be able to do what is essential, what is necessary with it. Spiritual practices are about making your mind so capable that when challenges of different weights hit you, whether it is happy challenges or challenges that you like or challenges that inflict pain on you, whichever challenges, when we have developed our mind, when we have developed this mental strength to such a level that we are we live with those challenges, we are able to go on with whatever is needed to be done during those challenges without being diverted, without being distracted, then we are making advancement spiritually. Spiritual advancement does not mean that the mind becomes uh, lifeless. That is an incomplete or incorrect understanding of spiritual maturity. So when we speak of the yogis in deep meditation, we are not saying that they have made, it is the incorrect interpretation of that is that they have made their mind zero. The correct interpretation is that they are training their mind to sustain through the challenges of sitting in one place, not being distracted by sound, not being distracted by light, not being distracted by hunger, because these are all pains that come. Not being distracted by smell. They smell something that they like. They should not be distracted by that too. So when somebody sits down in meditation, they're training their mind to become strong enough not to be agitated by these challenges, so that when they go about doing actions in life, their mind is not affected.
That answered, that clarified it for me, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
So, Prabhu, is it too late for you, or can we take some more questions?
Are there some questions, some other questions too?
Yes, Prabhu, there are actually
Okay.
several remaining, but I'm trying to see how much ground we can cover. So we'd like to give opportunity to some other devotee also who have raised their hand.
Sure.
Uh,
Out with me. I think I'll try and hang out with them.
and Prabhu, your just to let you know,
My video is not visible.
it's a blank screen. It's fine, means
How did that happen? Okay, I'm back.
yes, Prabhu. So, Priya, you can go and ask your question.
Is this coming?
Yes, yes, Priya.
Hello, Prabhu.
Your voice is very feeble. If you can speak a little louder.
You can hear me?
Yeah, means we can hear you. It's just a little light, but it's okay. Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm a very, very, not even a beginner. This is my first time ever even being introduced to Gita as it is. It was my friend who kind of said, do you want to come? So it's just like the first time ever understand everything with that perspective. So I have a question regarding the karma or decisions or the karma we do in everyday life. So when your parents or you're being intermarriage for so many years, so you take decisions in everyday life. Sometimes these are tough, and when you take these decisions, you know that you're expecting a good outcome out of it, but it is very painful to go take the decision and then stand by it and then go through it. So my question is, when is the time you know that the decision you took, like the action you're doing, or anything you're doing to make something better, or you want a good outcome out of it, say with regard to kids or see with regard that you have gone too far, or you've been you've been too stern or too strict, or you're I don't know how to describe it, but is there any way to know that what you're doing is not going to work anymore for you? Like you're just expecting too much out of your action. I don't know if I put it correctly.
Um, Typically, when I first of all, I'm very happy to uh, on my behalf because I'm also here as a guest, so I'm happy to welcome you. Uh, Especially you're new to this forum, so um, I can assure you that you're going to have a lot of fun. It would be a very wonderful experience. So please put on your seat back. Your question. Um, my experience to this is almost my third decade uh, interacting with people having various perceptions in life. I've realized that sometimes it's more helpful to have a smaller forum for discussions, a smaller forum to really understand where a person is coming from, what is the issue. Um, and here I kind of have that kind of feeling that if you can, if you are comfortable to give more clarity, it would be helpful. Or if you can find another setting where there could be a little more clarity about these dealings that we have in relationships, whether we have gone too far or too stern.
So, Prabhuji, to give clarity, I would say, for example, you have kids growing up, and on a daily basis or on a intermittent basis, you take decisions. You think that to make, you want them to go on the right path because the kids are growing, they're learning, they're exploring their power, how far they can go, uh, as because they're learning in their life. So they're just trying their limits with the world, including you. So you as a parent, say for example, I'm just right now just talking about kids, not other relationships. So you decide for them because that will help them mm, divert to the path which is right. I'm not saying right for them, but in terms of living a life that will give a right choice for them. But it's gonna take time. You're going through because you love them so much. Your heart pains because it's tough to take that decision to put them into situation where they are also going through pain because they think that we don't love them anymore and we are being tough on them. And you're also hurting because you don't want your kid to be sad and not, enjoying their life because you are too strict on them. So if that detail is enough,
Um, okay, let me work with just what you gave me. In this country, and I think everyone that's on this forum is in this country. It's the responsibility of parents to be aware of their children and what they're doing till they're 13 years of age. That's till the time where you are legally responsible to see that they are never left alone. Am I correct in saying that? Is it 13? Is it 12? Is it 14?
I think 13 is the age when we can leave them alone at home.
So
and then 18 when
13 is when. So 12 till once you turn 13, um, you have the facility, at least legally, you have the facility to give them some space, and lead them by taking their hand. After 13, you can try and lead them by pointing out the direction that you feel is the best both for you and for them. But all you can do is slowly just point out the direction to them, and also start living with the fact that their hand is no longer in your hand. So you cannot pull them to the direction that you feel is where they should be going. That is considering what are the norms here in the country that you're living. Is it all right?
yeah, I was thinking that so when I do my karma and my duty in this world to whatever people I'm connected to,
Right.
um, I'm like concerned about more about my thought process that how do I know if or do I need to assess myself at each step that what I'm doing according to me that is right.
Okay.
So is there any way to know that I'm trying to be too right?
There is
And
definitely a way to do that if you want to know that every single thought, forget thought because maybe it's not about thought, but every single act that you do, you kind of measure yourself and grade yourself from 1 to 10. Definitely, there is a way to do that. However, it is very tedious. It's like you being aware of every single activity and every single action and trying to make a note of it and then going back and assessing it and noting it down.
yeah, so this I started this journey of going internal around 2 3 years back. So now I'm able to do some of these exercises what you said just now. So this process is becoming more and more complex, more and more.
That is how it is. The more details that you
Yeah,
have, the more complex it is, or let us say, the more intricate it is going to be.
and then you feel more sensitive to each and everything, which was not there earlier.
Okay.
So
Now, when you feel sensitive to something, you have to invest time in it, right?
yeah,
When you invest time into something, it takes away time from some other activities, correct?
yes,
So you have to be very, uh, I would say, aware. You have to be very aware of whether you can invest your time in being sensitive about time from doing other activities. You have only limited time.
definitely.
So choose what you want to invest your time in. Again, if we go the hypothetical way, we'll end up with more questions than answers.
That's what happens every time I try to figure out something. I have more questions in my mind. So then I didn't dive down and
By the way, I just because I suggested that there is a way doesn't mean that I'm saying that that is a correct way or the wrong way. I'm not saying that. When I suggested that, yes, it is possible you can note down everything and you can assess it. That doesn't mean that I agree with it or I disagree with it. I just made a statement.
okay.
All right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I mean, like, I have a fundamental question. Like, I'm hearing Gita from past 3 4 months. So, like, we are hearing about, like, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, thought about karma, okay, birth, death, soul, like okay, everything. But so the Lord is saying, like even the Lord says, so He's the super Lord, and one human being or one soul's ultimate target should be to reach the God ahead. Okay, maybe we can call it as Vishnu Loka or like whatever. Okay, so to reach the God. So, but in between, why the cycle is required? That is my basic fundamental question. Because why birth and death is required, and why that body? Maybe again it's materialistic way. Pain will be with body, not with the soul. I think that's what I understood from these classes. So why that has to go? Because I think all the living beings or like all the souls were with God. So then again, why God has created this and why the God is spoiling this? I mean, I won't say spoiling, manifestation, unmanifestation. So why all this cycle is required? Because everything can be with God, right? So why all this cycle is required?
Okay.
I mean, maybe if my question is wrong, please.
No. It is a very, very appropriate question. Yes, so please don't feel apologetic about it. It's a very your question is acceptable, and you asking that question is acceptable. So trying to ask a question like that why these things have been here and into it. So why put sand? I mean, it's so painful. So asking a question like that kind of reflects that we are not considering the situation from a very good perspective. We are not looking at it from a very good perspective, the situation. And I'll tell you why. Let's suppose a prisoner in prison says that, why do they give us just prison food? I mean, okay, you can tell me that I should not do bad things. I should do good things. But then why keep me in prison? Why don't you let me be free? And why do you make me wake up at this time? And why do you kind of put me in cuffs? So a prisoner is asking the right questions at the wrong time and in the wrong situation. The questions are right, but the situation in which the prisoner is, that situation demands the prisoner go through those experiences. As soon as you come out of the prison house, one would be free from all of those pressures. So right now, having taken birth, we have already submitted ourselves to being in the prison house of samsara, which is the world of birth and death. For one who is born, death is certain. So we cannot avoid it. We have taken birth. We were not forced to take birth. All right? Is that helpful?
I'll go with this example. So just very good. If I read this trainer or film exam, okay, so the pain which I have to go. So again, karma yoga says, so it's according to your previous karma. So
well,
previous birth or previous karma.
That is not karma yoga. That is karma phal philosophy. It is the system of action and reaction. Karma yoga is different. Karma yoga is a process by which you perform your activities such that you become free from the cycle of action and reaction. That is what is karma yoga. The system of karma and karma phal is responsible for us receiving reactions for our previous actions. Okay. As I said, in the prison house, every single day we will be awarded or we will be punished for what we did that day. That is in no way connected to the sentence that's given us for being in the prison house. We were sentenced for being in the prison house for completely different reasons. Now, in the prison cell, one day we decide to not follow something, then we'll be given additional punishment. That additional punishment is because of what we did within the prison house. So when we try to, as I said, when we ask questions, these questions, and related to why did God create this world, then these questions are, they are being asked in a in not the it is not the proper perspective in which these questions are being asked. I will what could be the proper perspective is that then what uh, makes us take birth? That would be a proper perspective. That would be the proper question to ask, rather than say that why God gave us birth and death. I said that wherever, as soon as one is born, death is certain. Birth is not forced on us. If birth were forced on us, then we would not speak of liberation after death. I'm trying to, what I'm trying to do here is trying to establish the premise that I have put forth. My premise is birth is not forced. If birth were forced, then the conception of being free from birth and death, the idea of liberation would not make sense. The idea of liberation makes sense only if we realize that birth is not forced. So the correct question to be asked is, then why does one take birth? If birth is not forced upon us, then why is it that one takes birth? What do you feel? Good question, isn't it? So why do we take birth? The reason is, taking birth is like a sentence, means it is like sending a person to a prison house. So we must have performed an action that made the judiciary send us to the prison house. So now the next question is, what is the action that we performed by which we are sent to the prison house of birth and death? Is that correct? Would that be the logical right question?
Yes,
So what is the action that made the judiciary give us this sentence? That action is called as misuse of independence. In the free world, one has been given independence to work according to certain norms, but one has freedom within those norms to work according to what we feel, what choices we make. Correct? And when we misuse that independence, then the free society has come up with just judicial laws. So when we misuse our independence to serve God, then the laws of creation, they hand down the sentence of going to the prison world of birth and death. When we again learn to properly use our independence, then we'll be free from the prison house. So within the prison house, we have to train ourselves to again learn to properly use our independence, which means we have to again learn how to render service specifically to God and God's creation. Is that helpful?
Yes, I'm able to relate with the world even the same answer which you gave, like in terms of freedom. I mean, like there's a movie even in Hindi, I think, oh my God, right? That movie also. So there, like Lord, he's made up from Lord Krishna only. So the actor, like he though he's like he's an ascetic, but still, so he'll be visible to this guy to show him. So at last he says the same sentence, like, so I created the world, but yes, I gave the freedom, but I did not ask
people to, create all these, simple nonsense or whatever. So freedom is there, but freedom should be utilized in a proper way. So I think I got the same answer for you.
Thank you. Maybe I should start making movies too. I'd make a lot of money, I guess.
No, I just
I'm just joking.
from that movie.
Thank you.
We only have one last question for the day, and the remainder we'll figure out.
Somehow your voice is very feeble now.
Sorry, Prabhu. Yes, now you should be back, Prabhu.
Yes, you're
My
back.
microphone was up. Yes, Prabhu. So I was telling that let's take only one last question, and then for the remainder of the question, we will work out some other day to ask the remainder questions. Okay. So question is okay. So I see Asutosh Prabhu has raised a hand. Okay, and Madhu Mataji had another 3 questions.
Damodar Hari Prabhu, can I chastise you?
Yes, Prabhu.
This is just I'm trying to, I had a few lectures, so right now I'm feeling very light-headed. Okay, so are we kind of punishing those who have sent in questions earlier?
No, yeah, that's the reason I'm thinking that we should just I will let Madhurima Mataji Madhu Mataji ask one question out of these, and then that will be the last question, Prabhu, because you have a long day, and then I'm saying that remainder question we will take later.
Sure. Yes.
So Madhu Mataji, you can pick any question you would like to ask of all the things you have remaining.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So if it is okay with Prabhuji, so I can go ahead.
Yes, please. Yes.
So I have asked my 2 questions, and the third question is the continuation of the first question, like kind of continuation in the first question Prabhuji asked. You cited on levels like one elementary kid or high school kid or whatever. So here is the question as per the verse 2:13. So it's like the soul keeps changing bodies. So what happens to the consciousness or whatever we have attained in one birth, and when we move to the next body? So how does that happen? If we are in elementary right now, so what happens if that continues, or that is the thing, kind of?
Whatever we use, there is the strong need for it to be remembered, and whatever we don't use, there is a facility given for us to forget that. So if there is a particular set of information that we have accumulated right now, and 10 years from now we don't use that information, then we'll forget it. That facility has been given to us. For the next life, then it will be forgotten. And if there's an experience that needs to be remembered, then that is only possible if we use that information, if we use that the data that we have. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji. But see, if we have attained a certain level, but maybe we could not take it, say we not to the next level, or at least we have come to a level. So because when we take a new birth or a new when we move into a new body, so the things may not be same, or we may not be aware of the consciousness. So does these things really carry forward?
So are you asking about your spiritual credits?
Yes, Prabhuji. It's the spiritual consciousness we attain.
What?
Yes.
Correct. So what to the functionings, the way what you would need to interact in this material world. That is what I described. So this material world, we need the senses, we need the body to interact. So whatever data is in use the body, that data will be remembered this lifetime, and if it is in use the next lifetime, it will be remembered the next lifetime. Generally, it doesn't happen like that. Typically, all the data is kind of lost and it is not needed because you are born again, you're born as a baby, so you don't need that kind of data anymore. So you forget everything. And so that is for the body. Now, spiritual credits that you get is it is in relationship to the awakening of your spiritual consciousness. So the awakening of the spiritual consciousness is not affected by use or misuse. See, awakening of consciousness is it is like cleaning the dust of a mirror. So if you have cleaned the dust of the mirror and you have not accumulated any more dust on the mirror, then the mirror it will take lesser time for you to clean the mirror in the future. Correct?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
So similarly, when we are cleansing our consciousness, we are removing the dust away. So whatever dust we've removed in this life, and if we have not put on more dust, if we have not put on more coverings, more ajnana, then the ignorance or the ajnana, the covering over the chetna, or the consciousness, becomes thinner. So that is why it is said that spiritual credits are never lost.
Oh, okay. That helps, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. We will end the session today, and for remainder in the future, probably we will have if Prabhuji's have some time, then we'll do some other time. We'll try to have the question and answer. So let's say Hari Bol to Prabhu for spending his 1.5 hour answering every question. Say loudly, Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you very, very much, and I wish you all um, a very, very happy life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.